Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, a man murdered outside a courthouse by his violent wife that he was trying to divorce. Minimization, yes, activated. Yes. See, there is a extreme demonic hatred of males in various sections within society. Or let me add this. They hate strong type males, right? They hate males that they cannot just control and manipulate like that, right? In this topic, this male who was trying to divorce his violent wife, right? In which that by her and her violence killing off her husband that he was trying to divorce her, and she murdered him outside the courthouse. He was the victim of domestic abuse. But at the same time, you got people out here that consistently keep trying to point the finger and act like it's just some males out there that do domestic abusing. Yes. Yes. The game is rigged, boy. I mean, the game is rigged, right? In this system, it's about feminism, warp, demonicism. Oh, the system knows that. And in this caste system, feminism, they know this, right? Because they have a lot of control. There are some males that denial mode, but it doesn't matter. But right? You just look around and see that on that. But let me go ahead and get to the playing this particular video on this part. And it's interesting minimization what's going on as well. Even though the guy was the victim of domestic abuseness, right, by his violent wife that he was trying to separate from, right, and finalize and try to get a divorce, and she murders him. But of course, that kind of stuff is minimized because if it was vice versa, we know how, oh my goodness, toxic masculinity. Oh my goodness, males hate women, right? Oh my goodness, males trying to control women. Oh my goodness, we got to protect women. You see how this goes, right? But when it's the opposite way, right? When numbers of women murder males, numbers of women assault males, numbers of women commit, robbery of males, right? Oh my goodness, we need to do something for the women. The game is strange, and it's demonic, and it's pathetic. And unfortunately, there's numbers of males who don't even understand what's really going on. So let me go ahead and play this video. I'm the wrong one. Give me a second. There we go.
Tonight, we're taking you to the scene of that deadly shooting outside the county courthouse in Poplarville, the chaotic aftermath and heroic actions caught on camera, plus new details from Sheriff's Office investigators about the shocking crime. Noah Noble has been on top of this developing story and starts us off tonight in the studio.
Everyone I've spoken to about this case has praised the life-saving measures from courthouse staff and witnesses just moments after a man was gunned down. I spoke with the lawyer that subdued the alleged shooter, who turned out to be his client.
There is no justification, there is no excuse for anybody to open fire on somebody in a public setting like that.
State Representative Jansen Owen was Tanya Socher's divorce attorney. She's the 49-year-old who is charged with first-degree murder for gunning down her husband, James Ray Socher. This video, taken just minutes after the shooting, shows Jansen and courthouse staff surrounding James Ray, trying to save his life.
I really do have to point out how heroic those girls were that work in our Chancery Clerk's office. They were out there, he was in their lap. They helped me to apply pressure to his wounds. They took my tie and applied a tourniquet to his wound. So Those girls in the Chancery Clerk's office are real heroes.
I sat down with Chancery Court Clerk Melinda Bowman.
Yesterday was the greatest example of them going above and beyond.
You see this minimization. The pacificness, the conversation is not about this violent woman, this violent domestic abuse woman, right? Who this male was trying to sit there and escape from, right? He's trying to escape this volatile marriage of domestic abuse against him. And oh my goodness. Well, you see the minimization taken off of the person who committed the vile act of this violent woman.
And I've never been prouder.
She was emotional as she recalled her staff's actions.
They were all ministering to him. They're all deeply committed Christians, as I am. And they knew he was about to close his eyes to this life. And they began talking to him about what was going to happen. They said, all you have to do is run to Jesus. And he looked at Hannah when she said that, and he closed his eyes and he squeezed her hand twice.
The citizens of Pearl River County stepped up. The life-saving efforts that our citizens attempted for Mr. Soche was phenomenal.
Pearl River County Sheriff's Office lead investigator Scott Alley says in the hours leading up to the shooting, the Sochers' divorce proceedings were underway in Chancery Court, the only case on the docket.
The meeting for the Soches and their respective attorneys with the judge to finalize the divorce proceedings was an impromptu, unscheduled meeting.
Jansen Owen says because of the Sochers' volatile relationship, Tanya was not supposed to even be at the courthouse when James Ray showed up to finalize the divorce proceedings around noon Tuesday.
What in a toenail? You see how that goes? She wasn't even supposed to be showing up. It was an impromptuness where this man was trying to escape the violent domestic abuse relationship that she was having toward him, right? She murdered him. She's the domestic abuse person, the demonic woman. You see how this goes. But again, the emphasis is not on her being the murderer and being a domestic violence assailant. You see how this goes.
I was leaving the building. Mr. James Ray was leaving right behind me, at which point I heard gunfire and determined that Miss Tanya had opened fire. I saw her continue to shoot at Mr. James Ray. She approached me, at which point I grabbed her and held her there against the vehicle.
What happened whenever you put her up against the car?
She was screaming and yelling like a psycho.
I submitted a public records request for security camera footage from the courthouse to get a clearer picture, but I was told there are no security cameras at the courthouse.
My goodness. You see the ridiculousness of this. She was shooting at her husband that was trying to finalize the divorce from her domestic abuseness, right? But again, where is the, oh my goodness, who is going to protect numbers of males from numbers of violent numbers of women? Where is the violence? Where is the Anti-Violence Against Men Act? And there are males that do not realize, that don't even know that there is an Anti-Violence Against Women Act, right? But regardless, what about having an Anti-Violence Against a Human Act, right? Regardless, But of course, even numbers of males, right? Because there are some simpish males, unfortunately. There are some deadly simpish males. They will play white savior techniques in front of another male, right? Because they see this male and woman get into argument or some shoving and stuff like that. He has no clue what's going on, right? She could have been popping all sides of his face, left and right. She could have been stealing stuff left and right, right? And he plays white savior technique. And how many numbers of males have died? How many numbers of males got shot to death? How many numbers of males got stabbed? How many numbers of males, again, who have been unalive? And that same woman, she stays in a relationship with that guy. You said it's gold. And unfortunately, every day there are numbers of males who die because of domestic abuse by numbers of women. There are numbers of males who get assaulted by numbers of women, their wives, the girlfriends. You get the point. The one this applies to. And the system, politically, socially, you get the point. They're not trying to do nothing. You understand that? It's very clear what the system is doing. They want more hatred toward numbers of males. And they know there are just not enough males within society, within Americanism, and etc. Because feminism is going in different parts of the globe, right? But within Americanism, right, where feminism has a clawhold. And there are numbers of people who know this, right? And they don't want more males to see what's actually going on this. So this deadly violent woman shooting at her husband who was trying to finalize a divorce from her, and it's minimized, right? In the video, you see minimization on that. It should have been about, yes, there should be more laws and policies for also males, right? Not going to do that. This other particular video, you know what? This is a quick clip on something. This is how numbers of women that this applies to, the ones that are very violent, and this misogynistic various parts of society, misogynisticness of various parts of society, meaning anti-male. And again, I'm not talking about numbers of gullible males and some sellout males. I'm talking about numbers of good males out there, right? The ones who know that know, right? But this is what society likes right here. They say nothing about if this would have been vice versa. Watch this.
I bought you a little present.
You did? Well, where is it, honey?
Here, dear.
Oh my.
Little man, I've had a busy day. Oh, here.
Well, where is it, honey?
Here, dear. Little man, I've had a busy day.
Oh. If that would have been vice versa. And unfortunately, there is quite a number of males within Americanism and some other places who sit there and tolerate this misogynisticness in various parts of this society. Yes. They're tolerating this, and this is why I continue to keep happening. And this is what certain numbers of violent women, assaulted women, domestic abuse women, and certain numbers of even women, the ones this applies to, that's how they sound. Yes. Yes. One last video. This is interesting. And depending on the time, I may read a few comments relating to this part too. But when you watch this, just look at how. Let me just play something. You just look at this.
What was the hardest thing to adjust to when you first came into this prison?
I've always naively, I guess, thought that women were the gentler sex, that
Keep that in mind, right? How many males think just like this? How many numbers of women, right, on women that stick to women's code, right? Even though there's numbers of women out here that can't stand other women. So you see this game, right? There are numbers of women that also delusion that don't understand that there's other women out here that can't stand other women, but they will use other women. You would think this stuff should be logical sense.
the weaker sex, that's what society wants us to believe.
That's right.
And the fact that women can stab a man to death 40 times, I find that incomprehensible.
Keep that in mind. I may forget because I want to read some comments about this. That when I saw this particular video, it's called "Meet the Most Dangerous Women in America's Prisons." It's about several years old. Doesn't make no difference how much of this stuff is still going on, right? On this, but let's keep going.
South of Chicago, in the state of Indiana, 2 prisons hold some of America's most dangerous female criminals. The Rockville Correctional Facility, an Indiana women's prison, house over 1,800 offenders. Many are serving long sentences for extremely violent crimes. Some will end their days here.
How severely was the victim hurt?
The bullet came into close contact with his eye and
It shot him in the face?
Yes.
I mean, look at this. Babies in a prison. What?
For 4 weeks, I was given access to a world and a culture, the like of which I've never known.
So you were classed as a baby killer?
I was that, I am that. I'm a lot more than that as well. But
For 4 weeks, I was given access to a world and a culture, the like of which I've never known.
So you were classed as a baby killer?
I was that, I am that.
You see what the first woman was saying, that she was in her delusionary mind. Oh my goodness, well, I didn't really know that women can be so violent. And then you see this child, anyway, you heard what they just said, right? This child unaliver, violent demonic monster, right? And you still got people acting as if, well, just look at women as angelic. Oh God. This system is doing this when they know that numbers of males in various societies, the ones it applies to, do some simple stuff, do some white savior infantileness, right? And don't even realize how it looks. So this woman right here, this demonic woman right here, this child unaliver, she said herself. And watch if I get a chance, but I forget, I want to read some comments, and you'll see in some of these comments, you're like, what documentary were they reading or listening to?
I'm a lot more than that as well.
Excuses, manipulation.
Who I am.
So you were classed as a baby killer?
I was that, I am that. I'm a lot more than that as well. But that's who I am.
America imprisons more women than anywhere else in the world.
And I'm utilizing this as a fair uses doctrine for commenting on these type of this, commenting this. And you see what he said, that within America, this has some of the incarcerates more people than anybody else on the various parts of the globe. Incarcerates more women than other parts of the globe. But that's still minimized, right? That's minimized, but we still got to do something about this. But if it's talking about males, oh, forget that crap. Throw it to keep. You saw these codes.
Indiana Women's Prison. My escort, Sergeant McPherson, is taking me to meet the most notorious inmate in the state, a convicted double murderer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The state, Women's Prison. My escort, Sergeant McPherson, is taking me to meet the most notorious inmate in the state, a convicted double murderer.
Keep that in mind.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Sergeant, we're heading now to
the Administrative Segregation Unit. This unit is where our disciplinary offenders are. This is what you call like a punishment for them. We put them here to give them time to think about what they've done and to clear up their negative behavior.
Offenders in this unit spend more than 20 hours a day locked in their cells. They have no contact with the rest of the prison population.
Hey, Sarah, you ready?
Sarah Pender has been in this segregation unit for nearly 5 years. This is punishment not for the double murder for which she was convicted, but for an incident in 2008 which made headline news across the country.
Why do you think they have given you this long sentence, as it were, in segregation unit?
Because I embarrassed them.
Look at the eyes of the manipulator. You saw this goes, right? How many numbers of males, the first thing numbers of males fall for is a woman's looks? Even though you look at this face, on a scale of 1 to 10 would be what, a 4.5, maybe. As some people will look at this and tell, maybe a 5, depending on if there's some kind of makeup on. But how many males out there would fall for somebody just like this? Wow.
How did you embarrass them?
Well, I escaped from what was supposed to be a maximum security prison.
How did you do that?
An officer aided me.
In what way?
It's a little embarrassing. He drove me out. They have these transportation vans that come in to get fuel. They have like their own little gas station, and we planned it so that when he came in to get fuel, then I came out and got in the van.
How did you manage to persuade an officer?
Well, I didn't actually
to take you out.
I didn't actually ask him. Yeah, I know. It's I was having when I was planning my escape, I planned on doing it by myself, and but I needed money, and I didn't want to ask my family because I would have to lie to them about what it was for. So in order to make money, I worked with this officer who would track again contraband, and then my friends would sell it for money, and then I would get the money to save up for my escape. And so he was making a lot of money because I was paying him very well to do.
Just to when you first.
The only explanation that they've given my mother, embarrassing to the department.
I think I'm beginning to understand.
Sorry, I had the wrong button.
Are taking such a strong line on your case, because you mentioned it was an embarrassment. I think it's a huge embarrassment for them.
Yes, and the only explanation that they've given my mother for why I'm in here is that I'm, quote, too smart for their facility.
This is the Rockville Correctional Facility, from which Sarah Pender escaped in 2008. She was on the run for more than 4 months and was labeled America's Most Wanted Woman.
Leading the way back to Indiana, 2 state troopers in an unmarked police car, bringing convicted murderer and prison escapee Sarah Jo Pender back to an Indiana state prison. Pender has been on the run from police since escaping from the Rockville Correctional Facility last August.
She'll have no contact with the outside. No phone calls, no visits, and will minimize her contact even with staff internally.
But it's saying, you know what? Let me play a few. I don't know if I skipped you something. Let me play that one last time, or a few minutes when they was talking about, when she was trying to blame the guard basic on that and not take her own accountability for manipulating him. But if it would have been vice versa and it was a male guard and he was manipulating a female person and the female excuse me, if it was a woman guard and the male inmate and the male inmate was sitting there manipulating the female guard and the female guard helped the male escape. Oh my goodness. Look at that male inmate. He sit there manipulated that woman. Oh my God, he took advantage of her. You see how this go, but you're going to get it. When I sit there and read some of these, well, the ones who know that know, but when I read some of these comments, you're going to see no accountability overall for her. Let me say, I want to go back and play this part.
For why I'm in here is that I'm, quote, and the only explanation said that would be worth my while and very well to do this. And he found out that I was planning an escape and saw an opportunity to make more money. And so he said, well, what if I could just roll you out of here? I said, that would be worth my while. And as a side note, I also had a sexual relationship with the officer, and that came out when I escaped, and that was very embarrassing to the department.
Manipulation 101, right? Now, again, if it was vice versa, you know how that would look, right? You know how that would look. So let me just read some of these comments. Before I finish the show. The way they baby that guard who helped Sarah is insane. He was bringing in illegal stuff before she ever got to him. He chose to help her get out. He knew better. And now they punish her beyond belief because the prison messed up and they are super embarrassed. Unbelievable. What the mess on that part, right? You said it sounds, right? But again, if it was vice versa, right? And this particular woman who's sitting there making that comment, this delusionary comment, right? They won't hear all that. They be like, oh my goodness, that male inmate, he was using that female guard and he manipulated her. But see, on women's code, it's switched. They're confused. They're lost. They're delusion. Right? And there are numbers of males who don't get to their skulls, man. There are numbers of women out here who are not angelic. And every day there are males who fall for this. And every day there are males who have lost their lives behind this, falling for the foolishness. There are males that have been assaulted daily. There's been males that have been the emotional abuse every day, right? And keep quiet, which is the wrong thing to do, right? That kind of stuff needs to be talked about in domestic abuse against men by numbers of violent women, right? And emotional manipulating women, which is emotional abuse and mental abuse. That's not funny, right? At all, because it's sure not funny if some males, they say, oh my goodness, he's been doing this, he's been doing that. It ain't funny then, is it? Of course not. Hypocrisy. Another comment. I really like this interviewer. He's so professional and respectful. He protects these women's humanity. You see how this goes, right? You start to hear something, right? You start to hear quite a number of delusionalities, right? Not cliche. Another comment. It's eerie watching these women smile and laugh while describing their crimes. Now, this particular woman, she understands that she's in that, that not large percentage within womanism or within women, should I say, because she's not falling for just saying women. She understands that there's a caste system in womanism. She understands that there are numbers of women out there who can't stand other women. You see how this goes. And she's saying, again, it's eerie watching these women smile and laugh while describing their crimes. They understand this, right? And there's some women out there who understand that. And credit give to those type of women out there. Another one. Child predators don't even get long sentences like what these women got. Here we go again. You see what the? You see how some of these women think, right? The ones I'm talking about, these illusionary ones I'm talking about. They see nothing, they hear nothing, and they know nothing because they stuck on woman's code, right? Which is 100,000% will not be a hold accountability, and that's on them, right? It's just more males need to sit there and start growing in the mentality, saying, "Hey, man, we're not going to tolerate this. We are not going to sit there and bow down to this." But there's not enough male that's going to not do that. Because think about this. With this last foolish, delusionary woman's comments, there are child predator women. Goodness gracious. Another comment saying, "Oh, the poor girls finally got some of that equality that they've been fighting for." They understand whoever this person was, right? Right? Oh my goodness. Women can do anything a man can do. Women's empowerment, right? No trying to stop women empowerment. Okay, fine. All right. Women do these kind of criminality. Okay, however we go, and whatever the consequences of that. Oh, no. It's got to be a blamingness, right? If it's gonna be blamed against males, they'll do it. If they can manipulate numbers of males, they'll do it. Right? That's why feminism supremacy is one of the most perpendicularness of the mass manipulation tactics that has ever been used in society, next to true supremacists. Another comment talks about how, give me a second here. Another comment talks about 110 years, because that's what they talking about, one of the personnel gotten, right? And it was all kind of confusion because it was like, oh man, they was convicted of dumb homicide, and well, did they really do it? And but hint, with one person that they was talking about initially, right? Or the one that was having a conversation with that particular interviewer, right? And trying to point the blame at the guard, but not taking accountability for actions. Yes, the accountability for that particular person, the other guard, that's high on that part. But we're talking about the no accountability for that woman manipulator, right? See, woman code is like blame that male in a story, but that violent woman, be it physically, be it emotionally, right? Be it mentally, no accountability for her. And when you read her story, you be like, man, this is some chaos in here, right? 110 years, and she did not pull the trigger. 16 years for robbing a purse without a boom piece of equipment. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. The entire whatever system needs to be dismantled and made anew. Tragic beyond belief. Now that came from a simplest guy, right? Now this is only a few minutes of that particular documentary because again, there's some people may have seen it. There are probably many people haven't seen it. It's a few years old and still poignant even to this day, right? Because there's some super simple guys. It's like they cannot think straight. There's like many guys, there are numbers of guys that use the private part to think instead of using the brain to think, right? On that, to not fall for nonsense. There are numbers of males who do not understand that more women are getting more manipulating, more women are becoming more assaulters, more women are becoming more murderers, more women are sitting there doing child predatoriness, right? Hint, right? How many numbers of women are being child predators? Huh? But most people don't talk about that, right? You hear in this story in the documentary how one of those other ones at the beginning said she was a child unaliver. And you didn't hear anything about those comments I read you talking about stuff like that. You see how it goes, right? Last few couple of comments, and I'll finish the show. These women make me realize just how important a support system is when they enter society. Oh my goodness. Now, I don't know if this is a simp male or if this is a delusional woman code follower, right? Because again, if this is it, they're not going to talk about if this is, if you know when they show criminality, right? Who's the number one people they show? Black males, right? That's the boogeyman, right? Even though the majority of black males don't commit crimes, right? You see how this goes, right? You see how this goes. The majority of black males do not commit crimes. But the number one males who have been exonerated the most, basically based upon race, upon faultiness, is black males. You see how this goes, right? But to some of the same delusionary women's code people and some simpish males, they don't want to talk about that. They don't see black males and, oh my goodness, forget that. They committed the crime. Oh, we're hearing nothing else. Oh, what about the black males who have not committed crimes, right? What about the numbers of many black males who have been exonerated, found out they have not done it? Oh, we don't hear all that. Oh boy. Okay, almost finished. This person said they worked at a women's prison for 5 years, and what you are seeing is carefully cultivated interviews in an extremely controlled environment. These aren't former church secretaries, and it's not just their behavior on the outside of prison that landed them in confinement. It is also based on their behavior and disciplinary record inside this prison. This particular woman, she understands, right? She saw, right? Not emotionally responsive. Now there are some gullible ones that they just get into those particular jobs and whatever it is, it's a paycheck. Because we never let's not play that. You know what's happening out there for that. Now I'm just saying, but this particular one, she saw what's really going on this situation as well, right? Another one was saying, I really respect the interviewer. These women have done nothing to him, and he treats them with respect and courtesy. The delusionary is very strong among these womanism type people and number of simple males. Another comment says, the girl around the 10-minute mark, I didn't go into 10 minutes, and said has no remorse for her crimes. And she was giggling about robbing people is pathetic. She still hasn't learned her lesson in all these years. But watch this. Another comment that was responding to that comment says, how do you know she's not nervous? She's been recorded and having someone interview her in the comments with other inmates around. Man, you see the delusionary it is, right? Women's code is delusionary. It's insanity, right? It's functional insanity. And there are numbers of women out there in marriages who know I'm talking about. They can be right with the simplest male, use him, abuse him, right? And make it seem like he's the problem when she's the problem, right? I've relayed over several videos on this Real CP show about numbers of violent women, numbers of manipulating women. So I'm like, I don't even play that game. I don't even argue 0%, 0.2%, right? Because I know this stuff so well that these little tactics, I don't have to know 10,000 of those tactics. I just have to know some of those tactics. Because so obviously, when you sit there and observe this kind of stuff, right? And you read about this stuff, it's like the stuff's right in people's faces. And it's sad that there's unfortunately not enough males to sit there and see these games with very few amount of good males who know what's going on that. Another comment saying, the first woman showed the art of manipulation. She's good, right? Talking about that main one. Oh yeah, they understand. Another comment says, my heart ache. This is last one. My heart aches for all these women. I cannot find a wise society that claims to care about its citizens is reactive rather than proactive and reacts in this way, completely cutting them off from the outside world. Okay. That's a straight ticket to insanity. Yes, the insanity of this woman that made that delusionary last comment is that beyond delusionary. She act like these numbers of women were sitting there were angelic. And the same person would say that about numbers of males behind bars either like that. it'd be like, well, look at those males. They shouldn't have done that. You saw this goes, right? And especially if you start talking about, hey, what about those black males again? Those American black males who have been removed from their families, right? What about them for nonviolence? What about that? What about when they just made a mistake, right? What about them? Where's your sympathy and humanity for them, right? Even though collective American black males don't commit the most crimes. You said this goes. So, but the most hated male in society is the black male, the American black male. And again, I'm not talking about sellouts and gullible ones and deflectors. So I'm about to finish up this topic and hope this is interesting. Because again, in this system of supremacy, which is the most awesome mental manipulation force that has ever existed, and they also utilize perpendicular to them or parallel to them, which is feminism supremacy, which is also the next master manipulation cult that's ever existed, because they are the masters of chameleon tears and crocodile tears. And every day there are numbers of males that fall for this every day. There are numbers of males that get beat down every day, domestically abused every day, right? And you still got numbers of simple males talking about happy wife, happy life. You see how this goes, right? But you know darn well there's no such thing as happy husband. Everything is all right. Because they call you toxic masculinity. And they call you misogyny. And see, like in this situation right here, this male, he was trying to escape a volatile relationship. And nowhere did it talk about how he was so violent. He was just violent all over the place. He physically abused her, he emotionally abused her, he financially abused her. He did all kind of, nowhere did it talk about that. But again, the minimization of males that get harmed every day is disgusting. And there's not enough males to sit there and demand politically and socially, organizationally, etc., to say enough. That's like it should be a proverbial saying: women, don't put your hands on the male. Women, don't sit there and abuse men in any kind of way. But in society, that's not what they want to do. Little girls hitting little boys, and they think people giggling, right? They have little shows where they would show women, these little shows hitting men, right? And people giggling. But I'm talking about this showcasing, this theatricalness. But if they showing a male who's pushing this woman, oh my goodness, white savior, dun, 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 white savior male comes in and rescues. You see how this goes. See, I talk about how unfortunately so many internal problems that continue to goes on toward American black culture, right? And no reparations. Too many internal problems and no reparation. It's done on purpose. But this system has given border break illegal immigrant, the personnel, however, billions of resources, send resources over to Ukraine, have helped a number of people in Afghanistan, have sent, anyway, you get the point, right? Have helped however sides of pro-Palestinians and over the other side with pro-Israeliness, all this kind of thing, caste system agentness, right? Because there's different kind of agents who can't stand other agents. But in this system, they made sure to give some of the top echelon generically type agents anti-American, anti-Asian American hate crime bill, right? Even though they're like 3 or 4, I think 3 or 4, don't quote me on that, on the list of hate crimes put upon them. And the number one males are black males who have the most hate put upon them. You see how this goes, right? You see the disgusting tactic. And so I say all those kind of things because that's why I say, because there's just not enough American black men, not enough American black women to say enough of this. You're giving all these resources, all these different people, and anti-hatred bill, this person, that person, helping border breaker, illegal immigrant personnel, and nothing for Pacifically American blacks. Nobody else will be treated like this, right? Nobody. And nobody else will allow this to happen collectively. And this is why I would say American blacks only have half a generation to one generation left before the overall complete destruction within American black culture. I say that's because the secondary part is that because numbers of males, and it's not a small amount, who continuously allow politically and socially, economically and businessly and resources, etc., that this system, DEI, which is for numbers of women within the plant-based culture, one this applies to, right? And all these other different minority people of color, because there's an effort to put more women in different positions, right? We're not talking about qualifications or skill level, but just to get them in there. It's a whole different situations. But affirmative action was blamed upon black folks. But even though affirmative action had nothing to do with black folks, has anything to do with helping numbers of people within the plant-based culture to help them out with houses and colleges and land and stuff like that. You see, if you don't know history and know the game, see, they keep playing the same damn game, right? But what I'm getting at, and lastly, because unfortunately there are so many numbers of males who do not know the game, and feminism, warped feminism, is clawing themselves even more. The American elections of 2024, it showed there were numbers of women who went back crazy on numbers of males, the ones who voted for Trump. And it's supposed to be a democratic society, right? You know, the numbers of women that voted for Trump, there was no backlash or lava flow toward them, right? And numbers of women saying no more sex toward their husbands or boyfriends if they vote for Trump. Oh, so what about the numbers of husbands and boyfriends that have girlfriends and have wives, the numbers in the vote for Trump? Do you hear males talking about no more sex for them either? And because so many males out there do not understand this game, what's going on, the misogynistic games that are going on toward males, right? This goes across the racial lines on this. And unfortunately, there's not enough males to understand that there's a major hatred faction going on even more toward numbers of males in society. And there's not enough males to understand the game. And this is why I say on this part, males in general, collectively, only have about 2 generations left. That's it. As far as strong maleness, it's only 2 generations left at most before feminine supremacy basically controls the overall amount of male psyches out here. The psyches of males. And there's going to only be a few amount of strong masculine males around. That's going to be it. Unfortunately, it's the way it goes. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show.
I bought you a little present.
You did? Well, where is it, honey?
Here, dear. Here, dear.